Hey guys, welcome back to SourceFedNERD, and while, yeah, I may be Filup Molina, who cares? We got two new Spider-Man trailers, the international version and the national version. Either way, we're gonna go through these trailers, mostly focusing on the non-international one, and we're just gonna point out some fun things that I noticed along the way. By the way, I loved these trailers, and I want to say so much more, but I also just want to get into this old-fashioned trailer breakdown. So yeah, we assume you've seen this trailer a bunch of times already too, but let's watch some bits of it together, huh? Go ahead and play. Okay, nothing too crazy here, just some establishing shots of New York, Spidey's neighborhood of Queens. However, right before we see our would-be Queens Community Bank thieves, we get close-ups on the tech they're using to access those ATMs, and hopefully they look familiar to you, because me and a bunch of other people saw that and we're like, hold up. Is that Chitauri tech? It definitely looks similar. Remember how in Independence Day 2, that global war with the aliens left behind all kinds of amazing alien tech, and we since have used it for enhancing our own human military? Let's be realistic. If that stuff is just hanging out on the streets, it's just as likely that criminals would snatch it up too, and I love that detail, if that's the case. Let's move on. All right, then we get this great reveal that the bank robbers are using Avengers masks while they commit this crime, and a few things worth noting here. One, I mean, guys, there is a poster for identity theft right there. Maybe don't also commit that crime while you're committing another crime. Two, you see how Spidey's eyes are moving, kind of like the lenses of a camera, maybe like a closing of an iris. That could be good for better focusing or zooming or light exposure or something, but also it really just works amazingly for letting this guy emote through the mask. Deadpool did this with CGI, but before those masks, it was really rare for the hero to be able to wear his mask and still look like anything other than a dead blow-up toy. Hence why the mask always gets ripped off. And three, my favorite thing about this scene, this is straight out of the Ultimate Comics, which, by the way, this entire movie gave me a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man vibes. That might just be because that story takes place much closer to modern day than the classic origin, but also the focus on school as the home base really feels like how prominent Peter's school life is in the Ultimate run. And really quick before we move on, I love that Spider-Man is fighting like Spider-Man, using his agility more than being like a good puncher or something. And I also love that the Thor mask has the Thor helmet, because Lord knows Chris Hemsworth can't seem to find it. Now let's move on. Boom, this is what I'm talking about. Peter Parker, where he belongs, finally, in the MCU, but also at school. And right off the bat, Marvel is making a change that immediately makes this take different than any of the previous Spider-Man movies. It's not just that we're not getting an origin story, we're also not getting the Harry Osborn friendship. Peter actually has a nerdy friend. Now, I'm thrilled with this because the Harry-Peter friendship has always creeped me out. It's just a bummer, and we've seen it so many times, but there are some people that are not happy about this, even though it's a great idea because it gives him someone to share his experience with rather than just having to talk to himself about it and then just hide it from the rest of his loved ones. But the reason these people aren't happy isn't just that it's a change from the source material, it's more that they're kind of stealing it from someone else's source material. You see this guy here? The character is named Ned Leeds, except he's not really Ned Leeds. Ned is a character from the comics that looks nothing like this kid and is way older, and on the recent Spider-Man cartoon, sure, they did make him Asian, but that's not really who this kid is. They're not calling him this, but this kid is Ganke Lee, and that's the best friend of the other Spider-Man from the Ultimate Comics, Miles Morales. They ganked Ganke. Trust me, this is him. He's a nerdy, overweight, Asian best friend of Spider-Man who loves Legos. And people aren't just mad that he got jacked and put over into this universe, they're more concerned that it might mean that the MCU does not have any real plans to ever bring fan favorite Miles Morales to the movies. So hey, maybe just age him up a little bit and give him his own TV show or something, and then he can have like a different group of friends. So there you go, problem solved. Miles Morales TV show. And speaking of our secondary characters, let's talk Liz Allan. This is who Peter and Ned, if that's your real name, are fawning over. Liz Allan is actually another Peter Parker love interest from the comics from before all his big drama with Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson. This is another smart choice that gives high school Spider-Man room to breathe a bit before he gets into his more well-known parts of his story. That said, don't totally count out the other ladies in his life, because see the girl right behind Liz? She sure does look a lot like Gwen Stacy. Rumor has it this girl might actually be playing Betsy Brandt, who's yet another of Peter's first love interest and eventual wife of Ned Leeds. And then a moment later we get Zendaya, and everyone is swearing that she's not Mary Jane. And based on her look, yeah, she might not be actually. All we know is that she's supposedly someone named Michelle. Also, cute little touch, Liz is hanging a homecoming banner. Get it? Because the movie. Oh, we should just move on? Oh man, we got Tony Stark. This made me smile so damn hard. That door bit is hilarious and I plan to use it daily in life. The only thing I'm gonna point out here is that Tony has some makeup covering up the leftovers of a black eye and this little head wound up here. And this is great continuity because they're matching up to his injuries from Civil War. Though if they're setting parts of it during Civil War, that is very cool because in the Civil War comics, Tony and Peter have a very major, prominent story throughout, and it does have this fun Tony taking Peter under his wing, taking him to Washington, D.C. kind of thing going, and I really missed that from that movie. It's amazing if we're getting it here now though. Let's keep going. I bet a lot of you did notice that up on the wall in Peter's class, added to the end of the portraits of great scientists, is Bruce Banner, or just a picture of nerdy Mark Ruffalo. But did you guys notice the moment earlier when Peter's walking through the hall, the sciencey mural? That's good old Howard Stark, Tony's dad. Also, based on that mural and the other students walking around with these like techie projects in the science class, I'm feeling this is probably a special all science school, maybe related to Tony Stark and his scholarships he gives out. And then going back to the class for a second, which maybe is a physics class, it's hard to tell for sure. Look at that whiteboard. It looks like today's lesson is about the angles of pendulum motion, which is how Spider-Man swinging works. All right, keep going. Here we've got a deli blowing up, which could be a callback to the origin in Ultimate Spider-Man where Peter lets a deli robber get away. And then Ned/Ganke drops this Lego Death Star and a bunch of nerds' hearts break a little. What's funny about this though, aside from Ned loving Legos like I mentioned earlier, is that we've also got the tip of an X-Wing over there and an AT-AT visible in the previous shot. Now, if you remember,
you know that part where they're on the snow planet with the walking thing?
Finally, before we see Tom Holland's almost too ripped body, seriously, what is that? There is this really cool quick detail. Check out how he gets out of the suit. He taps the chest insignia and the suit goes all pajama loose. That's gotta be some fresh Stark tech. I just hope no one punches him in the chest. All right, like I mentioned earlier, it looks like Peter takes a visit to Washington, D.C., probably by way of Tony. And I really hope Spidey doesn't have any plans to try to swing around anywhere, because when you're on the Washington Monument, you're kinda out of places to swing to. But anyway, let's talk about this badass Vulture reveal. So it looks like they stayed very close to the concept art that they had previously released, and I think this look is actually really working for me. Vulture's look in the comic sucks, so they did something really smart here. They clearly based his wing tech on the same technology that already exists in the MCU. It's basically Falcon's suit modified. And then if you ignore those pretty little green eyes for a sec, you can take in the fact that the rest of the look is based on a fighter jet pilot with the jacket and the helmet. It's pretty practical actually. Cool, quick things to point out here. It looks like Peter gets to go on a Tony Stark guided tour of the new Avengers facility because that's an Avengers logo on the glass up ahead. Also in the next shot with Happy in the background, glad to see he's doing okay. Check out Peter's shirt. Now this is probably just a coincidence, but it's a little weird, so I'm gonna point it out. That's the same shirt that Pepper Potts has worn to bed with Tony. So make of that what you will. Then we're in Ned's room, and it's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure he has Captain America sheets. Awesome. And then Spider-Man answers my "what will you swing to" question by reminding us, oh right, this Spider-Man can glide. That's so badass. As per the usual, this is when the trailer really starts to speed up. So I'm just gonna tell you some quick things I noticed. First up, yeah, that's Donald Glover, and he's just chilling while this guy's shooting stuff. So maybe he's playing a bad guy? There's a rumor he could be Prowler, but honestly, we don't know. Also, this guy is shooting very Shocker-esque tech, and look at his sleeves, those are like Shocker sleeves, but actually this is not Shocker. This actor is Tom Hardy lookalike, Logan Marshall Green, but we don't know who he's playing. Maybe Shocker has a whole gang in this movie, I don't know. Also in this section, we get a really simply terrifying Michael Keaton, who has now gone from Batman to a Birdman, who was kind of a parody of Batman and flying superhero movie characters in general, to a flying supervillain character. You should go rewatch Birdman, it's probably that much more meta now. And then this fight at Coney Island, this is another time that's kind of messing with the timeline for me because that's his old Spidey suit from before Civil War. So either this movie jumps around a bit, or we're gonna see one of those hero has to prove he's still got it even without his tech kind of moments. Then we've got a quick shot of Aunt Bay, and boom, we're on to the Staten Island ferry moment. Damn, that was amazing! And we thought no one would ever top Cap holding onto a helicopter. Still, those arms are physically impossible. A lot of people think this could be a reference to Spider-Man 2, where Spidey's trying to hold the two parts of a train together. He makes that great face. But I think this is actually a pretty common Spider-Man motif. Being one of the heroes that struggles the most with maintaining his secret identity, Spider-Man is always struggling to balance his life as a hero and the life he shares with his family and friends. Often, artists and writers symbolize this for him by having him have to make a hard choice between two equally important things. Also, my favorite thing about this shot, right there, the Statue of Liberty in the background. This is just a great image. And then, of course, right at the end, we get Iron Man and Spidey coasting New York together, and damn, Marvel is just playing us like a fiddle at this point, am I right? All right, real quick, I'll just point out that in the international trailer, we get a little more with the Tony Stark combo that implies that maybe this is happening like minutes after Civil War. Much more clear shot of the actual Shocker villain in that bus fight scene, Vulture talking to henchmen, and a few more action shots. For the most part though, it's very similar, except they took out all the high school stuff that might not translate to international audiences as well. But I gotta say, that's my favorite stuff in this trailer. Kevin Feige said this movie would have an 80s coming of age John Hughes vibe to it, and I totally see that, and I'm a sucker for that, and I love it. I'll say it again, they are nailing the tone of this movie, and Tom Holland is nailing Peter Parker and Spider-Man, which is not something I'd say has really happened before. I've got a million other things to say about this trailer, but how about instead we just make this a conversation? Let's chat in the comments. What was your favorite thing? Did you catch anything that I missed? Also, you can hit me up on Twitter at Fimo if you have any questions for me. Otherwise, guys, I can't believe this is really happening. Spider-Man in the MCU. Sweet Christmas. Bye-bye. Fan-sided outlet has decided to rank something we care about. It's a list of literally the things we care about. The Fandom 250.
Never fear, looks like he's gonna be back soon with an all-new sports comedy, and it's gonna be a nerdy one. Yes!
Yeah.